of the CPP. She's an Nkrumah through and through. She now says that today, CPP, take your body, me too, I take my body. Joyce Baha Mukhtari is a special aide to the former President John Dramani Mahama. Ladies, good morning. How are you doing?
Good morning.
And I'm sure that you listened to Dr. Nyahonya Otamaklo. I'd want to pick your quick thoughts on what he said. He's lived through the periods, experienced Dr. Kwame Nkrumah and all other presidents until now. But this is what he thinks. What do you think, Nanaya?
I mean, I'm with him. Good morning to Dr. Nyahonya Otamaklo. Sir, I hope you are doing well. I owe you a visit. I'll come. I mean, we've been talking about it. But
I'm not been going.
Yeah, I have to go. I owe him one.
You
see, he said everything. And one thing that he said that is very profound is the medical aspect of it. That we really need to look into it. If really, because he is a medical person, so if he really thinks that way, I think that there's a need for us to talk about it and deal with it. Because we have somebody who is in the forefront of our politics. And if that is what he really thinks, then it's a bit problematic. I am not a medical person, so I will see it as something else.
Right.
Napo is my nephew, and we grew up together.
Right.
And I mean, some of the things is a bit worrying, especially the G. Kufuor aspect. I say it on your sister station, TV3, that he choked on his words, and I believe he was going to say, after Kwame Nkrumah, he was going to say G. Kufuor, but he choked on his words. So there is the need for him to be circumspect in the way he does his things. And I also agree with Dr. Nyahonya Otamaklo that the time has come for their party to be restructured.
But you are not part of them. What is your interest?
No, my interest is Ghana, because we are in a democracy.
Okay.
And if you are living within an area, you should be interested in who passes by, whether it's a madman, a murderer, or a thief. So we need to be interested in what happens in their party. Unfortunately, the people around the president has made him very tyrannical. So it's as if when they speak, say things that will satisfy him, not things that is reasonable to the ears of Ghanaians.
Are you saying that they massage the president's ego?
Yes, they do, but that is what it is. Because if that is not what it is, why should Nana Poku stand there and denigrate Nkrumah this much? And the president himself has his antecedents in Nkrumahism. And he does not even correct him. Immediately, he could not be corrected. I saw somebody write a note to him. I remember I was sitting in my sofa at home when he was talking, and I'll say this in Chi. Okay. It's as if pinch yourself. I said that Nana Poku kauketrema. And for some reason, he stopped at that end when he was going to mention other names. But after this, 24 hours, he comes back to say he's not going to apologize.
He said he was misunderstood. He has been misunderstood. And
by a variety of Ghanaians. Go to social media, 90% of people on social media, some people who are even sympathetic to the MPP are condemning him. So how was he misrepresented?
What does he need to do to be forgiving?
I mean, he should just apologize or let it go. But if you come rubbing it in with what he was saying in Wasa and within the jurisdiction of Kwame Nkrumah's area, if they had not divided the region into two, that is the Western region. And you go into Western region and you justify denigrating Kwame Nkrumah. You cannot compare the achievements of Kwame Nkrumah, which are tangible and real, to the achievements of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo that can be found in a pile of white papers that his communicators carry around.
But if the Wasa and Memfi or Mahim thinks the way you think and the way many others think that Nkrumah was indeed denigrated, he could have told him that yesterday. He didn't say that. He welcomed him with both hands, smiling.
But what else do you want him to do? What else do you want him to do? I mean, sometimes when people are quiet over your actions, it's more dangerous than when people speak.
I see.
So the man, it's possible, didn't want to even go into it. But in his mind, he knows what he's thinking. And it is not only the chief who votes. The chief has one vote. The people in the area have more votes. You see, Napo His job is to be attractive to floating voters. No party wins an election based on their own foundation and their numbers. So with this kind of attitude, how can you denigrate Kwame Nkrumah, the man of the millennium? And you were, intentionally, you could see that he was going forward to denigrate the rest. Certainly, whatever he didn't say, he wasn't talking about His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. He didn't have him in mind, because for His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, he could have easily said it. But because he was going to talk about his grand uncle. Because you see, when you go, I'm a politician, when you go on these political platforms, you think about what you are going to say. Sometimes the euphoria can carry you, but you have a foundational issues in your mind. What you go and see, what will be attractive to the people. And in this case, Napo was looking at what will be attractive to his mentor, who has pushed everybody aside to make him the running mate to Bawumia.
Maybe he was trying to whip the grassroots and
that is not how you
the base of the party.
That is not how you whip the grassroots. So why do you go and whip the grassroots at that place when you've been taken? You should just say thank you. You just apologize for misconceptions about who you are. Do you get me? And going forward, tell us how you are going to help Bawumia to help Ghana in the unlikely event that you win. But you just come denigrating everybody. His body language. He was even denigrating Alan. People didn't listen to that one. That those who have gone. So we see a chia with their tafri. But I said that, you see, these days when you see a chinya with that, you clean it because there is tata. That is why we see a chinya with that. You don't just get up and say, oh, this morning my chinya is not nice. It's not tasting well, so I'm quiet. You go to the dentist to clean, or you use sari or that sponge to clean, or use chewing stick or toothpaste to clean. So you can't just get up and say that, oh, we see a chinya with that. So yes, you've gone, and so what? This is what it means.
Joyce, stepping for me, your flag bearer has had cause a few weeks ago to say that, look, don't do a comparison between Nana Addo and Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. I am right here, John Mahama, I'm right here. Don't even compare to President Kufuor, President Mills. He said that a few weeks ago. It appears that Dr. Matthew Puku didn't listen to that advice and still went ahead to
How can he listen to John Mahama?
How does that come to you?
Well, good morning, everybody, and good morning, Johnny. Look, I think that we've all said enough about this matter. You know, when you are propelled into high political office, it is an opportunity for deep reflection, sober reflection. It is a time for you to also think of yourself as coming in for each and every citizen of Ghana, not just for your personal aggrandizement. You also ought to remember that in Ghana, we have a history. And that history demands a certain respect, a certain decorum. But you see, today, sadly, I remember Kofi Bentel on Newsfile with me, and you can look for that video, talking about the late Peter Alajite, the late Odoi Sykes. And this morning we've heard Uncle
Odoi Sykes is still alive. That's my grandfather.
No, he's alive.
That's my grandfather.
Sorry.
Okay.
So
that's my direct grandfather.
Good. So he spoke about Odoi Sykes. And then today we have just listened to Uncle Nyahuta Maklu. He said that they would be ashamed of how low the image of the NPP has sunk. The image has sunk because of Nana Addo's own personal issues. Because you see, if you don't declare me king, then you are not part of my system. Why do you think he doesn't like any of his colleagues or any of his classmates, all the people he started life with? I will never forget the day I heard Mr. Akufo-Addo, then candidate Akufo-Addo, describe the late Professor Mills as Professor Doolittle. It was a man he was on the hockey team with, a man he was on campus with.
Football team, they were together. I read it in that boy's book.
And hockey as well. And a man who was top of a class that you couldn't qualify to enter, and entered and got a first class. But you could describe him as Mr. Doolittle. It spoke volumes. And for me, personally, everything that has happened since Nana Addo became president is actually not surprising to me at all. You heard Dr. Nyahuta Maklu. He says that NAPO exhibited an inferiority complex. And many of the older persons who helped build this current New Patriotic Party will tell you that the quality of the leaders today is so low that even they are ashamed to be part of it. And you heard him clearly. You see, when elders speak, listen more to the wisdom, not the words. And this one I told Nanaya, that when I was sitting in my criminal investigations class, they used to tell us what criminals do and how they do the things they do. So when you are actually interviewing a criminal, look into his eyes, watch his body language, more than what he says. So when you watch Napo that day, what was he trying to do? My brother, no one political party can make you president. Even if they do, you will struggle to consolidate your power. Because when you become president or vice president, you are for each and every citizen of Ghana. If it is just about you and where you hail from, who will vote for you?
Maybe he was carried away.
My dear,
the excitement.
I repeated.
He has seen his chiefs, his
advice.
king.
And you see, as I said, listen to the words of advice from his own father. And a few minutes from there, and go and check the history of Mesia and how the traditional council is cited where it is.
Dr. Kwame Nkrumah and his choice.
Go and check.
Right.
Find out the history of how the House of Chiefs became the house of respectability that it is today. On whose shoulders was that House of Chiefs built?
He decided that
and then look just across from that compound. So the whole elevation of that particular segment was as a result of who's thinking?
Dr. Kwame Nkrumah.
The secondary school system that we had for boys and girls across the country, where all you had to do was pass your common entrance exam and go to any secondary school of choice. What was the thinking behind that? It was to build this cosmopolitan society that we have today. I can meet Nanaya with my battery and we'll communicate beautifully. And she will even help me interpret it and say it this way, say it that way. That's what it's all about. In the past, the whole concept of free education, my father walked miles to get to a school. And if you saw my dad, he had a scar on his leg. I remember one time on a tennis court, the first one was about 8.
Right.
And I asked him, but what happened? He wept that day when we were on our way home, when he told me how he got that scar. So for Napo to stand there, I get very emotional when I think about this. And say the things that he said when your leader or the person who has nominated you. How do we know about who Mahmoud Bawumia is or his father? Ask anybody from the north. John Mahama, what is it that all of us know about him historically? Nanaya is here, she'll tell you. The first dam, which tells you about the challenges with the plateau for water in Damango, was built personally by John Mahama's father, who was of the commissioners of Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. The University of Kwame Nkrumah, sitting right across from where he stood to make those statements. Whose vision delivered that university? You know, look.
Where he was also a student.
Thank you. My brother, I just have one message for the good people of Ghana. Today is AU Anti-Corruption Day.
Right.
The opulence of this administration, the greed of this administration, the corruption of this current crop. And you see, make no mistake, every leader or elder of the New Patriotic Party tells us that this group of persons occupying the party, they do not even identify with them.
So they want to what? Create a difference between Kufuor's administration and Nana Addo's administration. Is that what you're saying?
Let me tell you something. You heard him. Like I said, when elders speak, listen to the wisdom.
Right, not the words.
Not the words. Today, they are even trying to tell us that even Kufuor is a nobody because of Akufo-Addo. Let me ask you something. If anybody else were leading the NDC other than Mahama, how do you think the narrative around Kufuor would have been? And how do you think the narrative around the New Patriotic Party today around Akufo-Addo would have been? The only reason why they tried so hard, don't forget that Nana Addo never forgave Alan or Kufuor. Sometimes I ask myself, why this animosity towards John Mahama? You served in parliament together. But there's this deep-seated hatred. Every time Akufo-Addo speaks about John Mahama, watch his face, watch his language. There's anger in him.
Are you saying that President Akufo-Addo's character and attitude is rubbing off Napo?
You must actually be like Napo to serve President Akufo-Addo.
Really?
Yes. Why? Napo is here, fool. He wasn't trained at home. He has no discipline. He has no personal ethics or personal values. That he will stand on that platform and speak as if he was possessed. Johnny.
But how can you lose yourself just trying to please?
Yes.
I'm trying to
Because
understand.
you know you are undeserving. I said, listen to Dr. Nyahota Maklo carefully. Is this the MPP they imagined when they conceived of the idea? Are these the caliber of leaders they wanted to be in charge of the MPP? That today, you'll heard him about Baumia too. Listen carefully. So if Baumia is this low level, who he go and take to assist him? For all you know, there are, look, like I say, there are probably over 30% to 50% of Ghanaians who are more than qualified to be running mate or flag bearer of any of our political parties.
Right.
You understand? So when they pick you, it should be a reason for you to humble yourself.
He's going head to head with Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman, and then Dr. Baumia will go with John Mahama. I mean, the campaigns will be waged on that level. You think that he is not capable enough to match our prof? Both of them have been education ministers. Both of them have free SHS. Both of them have.
Let me tell you something, Johnny.
Some credentials together.
You and I are both citizens. Shut your eyes for a minute. I always say maybe there are not many neutrals in Ghana, but I'm sure there are still a few. Pick up 10 people that you believe are neutrals and open your phone lines. Between Napo and Nana Jane, who will you pick? My spouse with Napo didn't start today because of a disrespect and the way he talks down to just about everybody. I had a long article that I penned in the Graphic. I remember in 2017, he made some very disparaging comments.
I remember that
about
article.
Nana. Yes.
I remember that article.
I didn't start taking him on today. We have many leaders in our public spaces. Look, respect for your colleagues is the biggest rule of thumb when you talk about ethics. If you respect yourself, you respect other people. So when you watch him and you watch the display of arrogance, lack of respect, even the history cry, he didn't appreciate it. So maybe he probably doesn't understand that history. Because as I said, between your boss, between your father's palace and yourself, standing where you are standing, your past university campus, who talks like that? Maybe he doesn't even understand our history. Maybe you should get a book. Edu Boahini was one of the biggest historians.
Right.
Was he not a running mate of the MPP at some point? Even wanted to lead the MPP at some point.
Right.
He should pick up that book and read it. We didn't write that book for Edu Boahini.
I see. Nana, let me. Can we all be the same? I mean, can we cut and put some slack and say like we can't all be the same in terms of temperament? So this is who he is.
Johnny,
can we manage him?
Just for a minute before Nanaya comes.
Yes, madam.
There is something we forget, and I think it's a point I must make before I leave here.
Okay.
Our leaders must be put to strict proof. Your character, your demeanor, your tone,
your integrity,
body language. The best part is how Uncle Nyahota Maklo ended. Your integrity and the level of sin.
Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante of the University of Ghana thinks otherwise. He says that the character will not matter in the 2024 elections. It will be bread and butter issues. That's what he says.
Brother,
yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
The electorate, we are very hungry. Okay? Very hungry. 92.7. But those who are purveyors and conduits of the state capture that we are experiencing today are certainly not hungry. But make no mistake, Ghanaians must know that this is how the pair will continue. Talking down at anything and anybody who disagrees with them. Why? Check on all the things that they fail to do. Who is fixing the economy today? Who cares? For as long as they have money to go out there and buy votes. For as long as they still have a platform to just talk down at us. And then you take Baumia with all his lies aside and go and carry Napo and add to him. What are you telling the good people of Ghana? Any day, Napo is nowhere. I don't even want to compare peaches and apples. It's not even a debate I want to actually engage in.
I see. Nanaya,
yes.
Can we cut Napo some slack and say, like, we can't all be the same? So, you
see, Johnny, when you take public office, you need to do an introspection of yourself.
Okay.
And try and deal with some of the issues that would come up against you in terms of character.
Right.
If what's his name, Dr.
Asah-Asante.
Asante, if he says that, I don't agree with him. That because of bread and butter issues, we should allow people to walk over us. Certainly not. So your character is very key. And that is what you bring out to people. That is what makes you attractive to people.
I see.
It is not always bread and butter. Do you get me? What Napo has done is unacceptable. You see, after he did that, I've known Napo for so long, and I said that, so if Napo, in the unlikely event that Napo becomes the vice president, then we are going to see a Goliathic spirit.
Hey.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Who is Goliath? Goliath always came out of his camp to talk down on Israel. To always bellow down on Israel.
Are we not overstretching this?
We are not overstretching it. Because if he has now he hasn't got the power. He needs to be nice, he needs to be amenable, he needs to be accommodating for us to at least have some mercy on him. But now he's telling us this, denigrating the efforts of the people who have come ahead of him. If we narrow down to President Kufuor, who, if you really know, who gave Napo the leverage to be who he is? When you look at Napo's CV, the kid map, when did it start?
3FM 92.
Do you get me? He has only 2 places that he had worked in the public service. So who actually gave him that leverage? Who gave him the leverage that he's a royal from the home of Apeja? That's where I come from.
Okay.
Who gave him that leverage? That is his grand uncle. Do you get me?
I get you.
So who gave him that leverage to be a royal? That now he even wants to denigrate whatever Kufuor did. And I agree with Uncle Nyaho to that Napo should go and apologize. Because you see, whenever you are going on a venture and you don't get the blessing of the elders, sometimes you have a very rough road.
I see.
Do you get me?
I get
so
you.
it is very important that Napo just does an introspection. You see, what is even alarming is the fact that after everybody was talking, 90% of social media was against his statements and the way he was just gyrating his body and his body language and everything, even saying on that platform that there is no doom so. I mean, I thought that at that moment he would just come and say that, look, there was some problems, but I have resolved it. And we are now happy. Just even come and say. He said there's no doom so. But I will always say that Nanado is the person who is making some of his people have that kind of body language. And it's not only Napo. This is what we have seen. The rest, most of them are like that. They talk down on people. Their body language is like that.
I see.
Do you get me? So at the end of the day, if Napo really wants to go somewhere, he should change the way he does things. And he should listen to the wisdom of the elders. Otherwise, it will not be easy for him.
I hear you. Edward Bauer is a member of parliament for Bongo, is joining us on Zoom now. Edward, thank you very much for your time. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm greater than Accra. We're getting into our next conversation, and I want the ladies to stay with us so we can do this. ENI and Vitol, that international arbitration. Did Ghana win or lose? Because there's some confusion out there. Did we win or did we lose? Tell me.
Thank you very much. Before you make an assessment as to whether Ghana won or lost, we need to know what exactly ENI.
Right. Edward Bauer, I can't see you. We want to see your fine face so that we can connect with you. You're live on Facebook. Aha. Great. No, it's... okay. So you have to play Ninja. Okay. I hear you. Yes, we can hear you clearly. Right.
3FM 92.7.
ENI. Indeed,
Right.
Three FM 92.7.
Right. Right.
Three FM 92.7.
Okay. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Three FM 92.7.
Did we win or lose?
There was no need paying that 7 billion. But it did not prevent ENI from coming back to the tribunal should government insist on going ahead with the unitization. So it meant that if government insists on going ahead with the unitization, then ENI reserves the right to come back to the tribunal to have the 7 billion issue dealt with. I don't know whether I'm making sense.
What you are making sense, but why is the Attorney General telling us a different story?
That is politics. That is his character. he relies on deceit instead of substance. And you can see that in almost everything that he does. His style is not normally based on substance. His style is usually based on playing into the gallery, deceiving people, spinning. That's what he does. And fortunately for him, one thing he didn't know was that the 145-page document that was released by the tribunal as part of their ruling was not only available to him alone. You know, at the time he released the statement, a lot of people had not gotten the ruling. So in the course of that, when the ruling was now made, everybody got the 145-page document. We knew that, look, at the end of the day, that was not the case. So he misrepresented the fact. But you see, Johnny, we did not need to get to this place. Why do I say so?
Tell me.
So you have a situation that Springfield, and I will say this very clearly, that as a Ghanaian and as a social democrat, I will always stand for a situation where you have Ghanaian companies taking part in our oil industry. Indeed, that is the only way we can guarantee value retention. So I have nothing against that. The challenge I have is that when Springfield asked that they requested for a unitization of the two fields, the Afina field and that of the Sankofa field. Mm-hmm. At the time they wrote that, it was incumbent on government to have told this, what they call it, Springfield, that yes, we have heard you. That do an appraisal of your own findings. And the only way you can do an appraisal of your own findings is to drill an appraisal well and make and then establish the commerciality of the quantities that you have found in your field. It is only when you have done that and you know what you have, then you can go into unitization, because unitization is also based on the quantities of fines that you have got.
I see.
Government of Ghana did not do that and went ahead to bully ENI. And of course, in all the stabilization clauses in our petroleum agreement, the parties have the right to appeal to an arbitration tribunal. Mm-hmm. And the conditions are always set. This was one of the areas that it had to do with stabilization. And so if they felt that, look, they were going to be hard done with, it was within their right to do. But I felt that Ghana could have prevented this. Or else, look, my brother, do you know that in terms of our production, we have come down in terms of the amount of petroleum products we now export? Right. The reason is because you have a field that is sitting there that if all things being equal, they would have been on street today. Would have been having that's a stranded asset. We have left it. We have not developed it because we engaged in an unnecessary legal tussle that has ended us nowhere. All it has done is to keep us at where we are. We have no access to our petroleum assets because the parties were not ready to develop the field until the ruling of the tribunal. So that is the situation.
I see. Now, before I let you go, the amount of money that we have lost, you say it could have been avoided. You are a member of parliament. Accountability is key to you. Can we place this within the domain of causing financial loss to the state?
I am not a lawyer. I think that was it Joyce who was in your studio or something?
She's still here.
They have the ability. If I pretend to be a lawyer now, people will go after me. I don't know what are the factors that trigger financial loss. All I can say is that there has been an exercise of irresponsibility on the part of our managers of the energy sector. And that is something that we can call them for. But this one, I do not need to have a legal background to know that if we had done things right, today Ghana would have had access to some particular type of money to take care of our healthcare, take care of our terrible educational sector, to take care of our deplorable rules and things like that. So the fact that we do not have access to that by virtue of the fact that in government's exercise of discretion, they did it wrongly and it has cost us where we are. That is where I think that's the comment I can make.
What is your committee's position on this matter? Because I've heard you, I've heard JJ, I've heard many other members of the committee, but as a committee in Parliament, do you have a position that you want to table before the House to say, this is what was done, we disagree, we thought it should have been done this way and that way, and in future, this is what we should be guided by?
I think my John Jinapo has given a bit of hint on that. I think as a minority, we will insist through the chairman of the committee that we need a full briefing by the Minister for Energy in terms of what the issues were. and where we are and how we are going to go. And you know why? You see, beyond just this ruling, government must be clear in terms of its pronouncement as to whether they insist on going on with the unitization or not. That's one aspect. Two, government must also clearly tell us how they are going to re-engage ENI. They have to tell us, because basically they have what we call the POD, the Plan of Development, because of the fact that the whole process of developing the funds got stalled because of this legal tussle. Government will have to find a way of re-engaging ENI Vitol to see how they will deal with it. That's one aspect. The other aspect is that, look, and that's the part I'm sad about, the issue of Springfield. So Springfield, as an indigenous company, will now have to go into the world globally to start shopping for investments because they need money to develop their field. Initially, because of this issue of unitization, that would have been a different ball game together. But now, based on what has happened, unless government can, in future, establish that there's a need for unitization, as of now, the records suggest that they have not been able to provide data to suggest that they should have a unitization process being triggered. So you have Springfield also now having to go into that. In a situation where people do not trust Ghana, it becomes a problem. So these are all answers that we will need from the government through the Ministry of Energy. And my ranking has already hinted on that. So I believe that in the coming days, I don't know whether it is going to be Matthew Opoku Prempeh or whoever is going to be, whether it is going to be Herbert Kappa. I don't know who, but the minister in charge of energy would have to come to us and give us some answers that we need.
I'm not sure it will be Matthew Opoku Prempeh. It's Herbert Kappa. How did the vetting go, by the way? It's a matter of interest because he will be taking over from Napo if all things go well. How did the vetting go?
I am not a member of the
but as an interested party, because you're a member of the Mines and Energy Committee.
So, in terms of competence, I will have to first assess him when he comes into the field to work. In terms of as a human being, I have dealt with him because of the fact that he was the Deputy Minister for Energy, and that he comes in with a better demeanor and a better composure in terms of how he relates with people as compared to the person he will be taking over from. And so he doesn't come across as boisterous. He doesn't come across as somebody who would want to always be confrontational in his approach. But in terms of competence, which is very important for all of us, I will only assess him when he starts the job.
Edward Bauer, I thank you very much indeed for your time. Grateful that you could spend your morning with us here on Sunrise.
Thank you for having me.
As a member of Parliament for Bongo, he's also a member of the Mines and Energy Committee of Parliament. I'll begin this with you, Joyce, and I asked him a question. He deferred that question to you, whether this will fall within the domain of causing financial loss to the state. We've been talking about saving up our monies, 189,000 pounds or euros. We don't know which is which because the Attorney General keeps throwing figures about. Does this fall within the confines of causing financial loss to the state?
Look, in all ways, in every facet of the law, look, Johnny, I think that the recklessness with which President Akufo-Addo and Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia have led this country is also encapsulated in how this conversation around this has gone. Cast your mind back to when the then Italian Prime Minister arrived there because of ENI. If you recall, Parliament was held to ransom.
Right.
It was one of the days when I felt so sad for John Dramani Mahama as president. The way the then majority misbehaved on the day when this Prime Minister was supposed to come and announce this agreement with ENI. Mr. Mahama has been meeting various interest groups. And when he met with the Chamber of Petroleum, do you know what their biggest challenge is?
Tell me.
Sanctity.
Within the space, the industry.
Yes.
There's no sanctity.
Sanctity. Respect of agreements. Right? Look, Monday morning you sign this agreement. Wednesday morning they tell you it has been cancelled. Thursday you go and have these negotiations. Friday they tell you we are no longer interested.
But why?
The arbitration court itself has said Ghana has now assumed a reputation in the international business community, let me put it mildly, as a disrespecter of its own agreements. So whether you go before Parliament, whether you don't go before Parliament, at the end of the day, once they don't like your face and they're not happy with it, or there's something they want you to do, I have heard a lot of rumors around this matter. Once you refuse, we have cancelled the agreement.
So unitization will happen whether you like it or not.
Thank you. Take it or leave it.
Wow.
Yes, that's what we have. And I said to you that you heard Edward Bow. I don't know what is it in Parliament. They are very, very charitable to one another. You understand? He was trying very, very hard to say exactly what it is he should have said. NAPO's character itself is part of this problem. The arrogance, the refusal to listen, the refusal to be humble and learn. Look, I remember years ago, and today that gentleman is one of the finest we have in our space. A group of investors from Canada had met him. And then from there, they had come to our office. On our way out, one of the CEOs who had accompanied them said, oh, we went to so and so's office, Charlie. It wasn't easy, crowd. The guy wasn't even prepared. At least he should have prepared some speaking note, or someone should even have briefed him.
Right.
Or I was very embarrassed when I sat in the meeting, etc. 10 years later, I said that gentleman, in his outlook, the way he has improved and worked upon himself, you will be impressed when you engage him. You see, when people listen, when people learn, when people behave a certain way, you behave differently. You see, Madam said it. From Napo to Dami to everybody. It's just this impunity that is everywhere. Take it or leave it. The government is for us. Make us happy or leave it. Do it the way we want to or forget about it. Why? Look, I am from the NDC, and I remember we used to criticize our attorney generals for not being very political.
Right.
In their time in office.
Right.
And I don't have to. Everybody knows that.
Right.
I'm sure even we've come here even on occasion to have these conversations.
That's right. That's correct.
But what was it they always told us? Attorney General is not necessarily political lawyer for government.
But it's a different
Attorney General is
ball game
supposed
today.
to uphold our democratic credentials and justice and fairness and equity and be stewards of all the things that matter.
But it's different today, isn't it?
But look at me. Look, as I say every day, if you're about 15 to 16 years at the bar and you are made leader of the bar, Masa, it's a big thing. It's a huge thing. And you must take it as an opportunity to cement our perception that young people come to. In other jurisdictions, people in their 40s are prime minister and president. Even in some other place, there was somebody who was at 39.
That's right.
You understand? When young people demonstrate competence, demonstrate that they are learning on the job, justify why they are included, we all celebrate it, because all of us here would love to have these opportunities thrust upon us.
Right.
What has been Dami's outlook since? He's an Akufo-Addo boy, and Akufo-Addo praises him for the things that he's doing. Why, you're talking about the award of the damages to the lawyers or the court?
That's right.
189 euros. Have you thought the number of tickets they've taken to fly there? The fancy lawyers they paid to get there. Go and check. The number of lawyers that they carry from here and those they meet abroad who join them is a huge industry. When I was a child, my father's next door neighbor was then a high court judge who was in charge of contracts at the Attorney General's department. No contract left or was signed by any appointee of government
without coming through his hands.
Office. And I'm happy that John Mahama has actually hinted at us returning to a department like that. Because you see, if we don't reconcile how we handle these multinationals, very soon our economy will literally collapse.
Because FDIs will be a thing of the past.
No. Have you checked? Everywhere you go to, that's all you hear. And I've just come from Singapore. They are touted by the World Bank as the first country when it comes to the ease of doing business. What is the business hinged on? Integrity and credibility. When you enter there, you sign an agreement. You know nobody will ask you for a kickback. Nobody will come on Monday morning and tell you we made a mistake, so we are cancelling. Certainly not. Look, you see, if we change this government and we restore respect to our leaders and our appointees alone, I think that Ghana will be better off.
Let's see. Nanaya, you have worked with a regulator before. How does all of this sound to you? I mean, Edward Bauer gave some clarity yesterday. I listened to John Jinapa as well. But you listen to the Attorney General, he's telling a totally different story, trying to, paint as if, okay, we've gone there, we fought, we saved you $7 billion, clap for us, that kind of vibe.
What they have lost.
Thank you.
Yes.
If you take 7 billion out of what they have, I mean, the point is that I don't think systems and institutions are working anymore. And everything is congregated around the boys of Nana Addo. I don't think the regulators are being allowed to do their work. And it is who is who. And that is a very lucrative sector. And there's some form of greed going on in there. Terms of contracts are changed, owners of, certain concessions are just taken off without any discussion, without any recourse. People invest their money in some of these ventures, and at the end of the day, they just take it off without even speaking to the person. So, there's some form of greed. But the point also here that you have lost, and now you are saying you have won. Whose word is against the other? So I think we need to really find a way to go to the courts of arbitration that stayed on the matter to find out exactly who has won.
Okay. This one is we are waiting the full judgment so that we can read for ourselves.
Yes, that is the point. We have to
lie.
Yeah, we have to get to there one way or the other. Because who has won? Even when you see that judgment, MPP can tell you that the interpretation is different.
Really?
Oh, please, I beg you.
But it's black and white. We cannot read.
Please, I beg you. He will come and tell you that the interpretation of the judgment is different from what you are seeing. You are reading it from a layman's point of view.
Thank you.
Wow.
Yes. That is very easy to do, to say. They will say it. Mark it on the wall.
But the statement from the Attorney General actually speaks exactly into what you are saying.
Right. Yes. That statement, there's a two-pager.
Yes, did you get me? Yes. So, if you read the judge, I wish that there is a way that we could go behind the scenes with a journalist in Ghana, even if it's an international matter, that you could get somebody. Other places, they do it. There's the CNNs, and they'll go behind the scene and actually get somebody who sat on the panel to give us an indication of what really happened.
Okay.
But because they will argue with you that the judgment you have read, they will even insult you.
I see.
But the significant one amongst is that who superintended over this mess? Who allowed this whole thing to get to this point? Another person is going to be our running mate. Or a running mate for a major political party, a party in power.
I see. Joyce, let me bring you in. There's a challenge that's been thrown out there, the debates, presidential debates, vice presidential debates. Are your candidates ready for it?
Oh, boss. Look, what are we going to be debating about?
The achievements of Nana Addo, the legacy that he says he doesn't want anybody to destroy.
That corruption is better today. That our water bodies have not been completely polluted and totally destroyed by Galamsey, that what Professor Frimpong Boateng said is a lie, that the free SHS, even though they inherited it from Nkrumah to John Mahama, they tried to give all sorts of impressions, like Nanaya said, even tried to confuse all of us about our history. And it is the reason why Napo said the things that he said. It is all from that conversation around who did what and who didn't do what. Is that what we are going to be debating about? Are we going to be debating about the fact that there's no hardship in Ghana? That when they took over from John Mahama, the dollar was 4 cedis. 3.8. Well, let's just say that it's 4 cedis.
You rounded up to 4
Absolutely. Today it is 16 and rising. Let's talk about fuel. Let's talk about cost of food. Why? Even the taps were running for a while. Where is the water today? Everybody is purchasing water from a tanker. They would come and tell you the same lies and want you to believe it. Look, what are we going to be arguing out? Mr. Mahama debated Akufo-Addo twice. On both occasions, go and find the videos and play them. Baumia will be no different. Indeed, when you watch Baumia on the stage in Ashanti, were you not surprised? Where is the lasher? Where is the man that used to speak and hold traffic queues and hold us all spellbound? Where is he today? The lies have totally destroyed his image. Even when he speaks now, nobody hears him. Literally, he says nothing. And then when he stands on the stage in the face of this corruption and hardship, and then says what? Even on the economy, they've done better than Mahama. Did you hear when Akufo-Addo respond to somebody who said something that actually fell in his ears And he said, oh, but this and that. Go back and watch the tape.
Yeah, I did.
Yes.
Off the cuff,
yes, follow them closely. You see, in 2016, I always say that Dumso really, really destroyed the NDC. You know, it was such a huge challenge. It affected so many lives that people were no longer listening. So imagine that there's Dumso is a human institution. Then once in a while you hear about this story and it's about corruption. Then you hear that, oh, this has happened. You know what I mean? It just literally made sure that everybody stopped listening to anything that the NDC was saying in 2016. So we gave all of it to them. Today you watch some of the biggest supporters of Akufo-Addo and Bawumia today. You can see that they are very pained. The few neutrals who actually speak out tell you that they were so convinced that Nana would be a different kind of leader. Even though they had heard people like Dr. Nyahota Maklo, they somehow thought that maybe as president, he will continue to listen to them, take their advice, and they will help him even to govern. They are all very, very, very disappointed. Today,
most of them say you are all the same. NDC and PP are all the same.
No. When you hear that, know that it's somebody who gave all their hopes to Mr. Akufo-Addo.
Oh, that's
yes.
it.
Oh, yes. It's a psychological rebound.
When they say,
yes. Anytime you hear it. Look, on every aspect of John Mahama and the NDC. So Mahama is a very affable individual, very patient man. He likes to listen, very disciplined individual. Why? When Mr. Mahama started on the political platform, and let me tell you, even these extreme jabs now, when did they start? They started from the comment about Professor Doolittle. And then you now realize that when Mr. Mahama even doesn't throw these punches at them, people think, oh, no, but they do it to you. There was a morning I actually went to hand him a list someone sent to me of all the corruption scandals and said, Mr. Mahama, please, we want you to deliver these ones for us. Right. Let's hear you say it. Why? We used to debate on issues, on free SHS on 2 occasions. The debate was between John Mahama and Nanado. On both occasions, Nanado failed. That is why he has taken this free SHS thing almost as if it is his mantra. I think his spirit is still disturbed by the defeats he suffered in the debate. Boss, there is nothing to debate. As I said to you, today, one of his biggest aficionados, Kofi Bentil, was the one who lamented how Alhaji Theodore Sykes and others will be feeling today that this is the MPP they handed over.
John Mahama accepts the challenge on an IEA platform to go and
we
debate.
will not even challenge and even fall prey to any challenges.
So you won't debate?
For now, what is the point? What are we going to debate? The lies, the corruption, the greed, the avarice. What are we going to debate? That people are suffering, or that it is a lot worse now than it was 8 years ago?
I hear you. Nanaya, debate or no debate?
Oh, I think that His Excellency John Dramani Mahama is highly capable to debate Bawumia.
So you support a debate?
Yeah, because you see, the Ghanaians should know who he is.
And what about the vice presidential debate? Napo versus Prof. Nana.
It should come on because Prof. Nana will just floor Napo. Napo will get angry in the middle of it.
I say there's no contest, Johnny. Not for either of them.
I don't understand you.
I am saying that
if we put Prof.
he answered questions step by step, even the ones that sounded annoying. Right. He did not get angry. And he was on top of the issues. He wasn't blabbing. He was on point. Even the one that I was jittery was the air busting. He delivered the answer so straight out. When I went to the New Year school this January, it was Legon. It was just amazing. Not as if I haven't listened to him before. But I'm saying that he is capable. So for me, a debate should come on for him to let Bawumia know, because you see this thing as if every day Bawumia is jabbing His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. It must stop, because this morning, because they have become like Goliath spirits.
Okay.
They get up and they just jab His Excellency John.
You're sounding like an Oforiatta now.
I'm serious because because they just come back and this money was jabbing him. Meanwhile, you have failed. And you are jabbing somebody who did better than you.
I hear you.
And Jenana and Napo certainly
you say it will be a bloodbath.
Because Napo will start insulting.
Oh.
What are you saying? Napo cannot be quiet unless he changes from now going after what he's been through.
I think he needs a coach.
Maybe there's a rebirth.
Maybe he needs.
No, but you see, he even if you coach him, if there's no a rebirth internally, and you coach him in the middle of it, he'll go off.
I hear you. Nanaya, and Nkrumah is joined us here, and Joyce Bar Mukhtari of the NDC, special aid to John Mahama. Thank you, ladies, for spending your morning with us. We're grateful.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.